are now listening to Radio Danzig, broadcasting from the heart of Europe. Tonight, Radio Danzig, in association with Hellcat Studios and Phantom Stranger Media, presents Tin Town, the Dam Workers' Village. Faced with a future shortage of fresh potable water in many cities of the English Midlands, the authorities decided to flood the northern end of the Derwent Valley. Decades later, that plan proved to be insufficient, and the southern half of the valley was dammed too, losing the villages of Derwent and Ashopton in the process. This is Derwent Hall, centuries old, but demolished in 1944 and sunk beneath the new Lady Bower Reservoir. We've already covered the fate and folklore of Ashopton and Derwent, the drowned villages, in other videos. In this video, we're going to look at a remarkable temporary village created for the workers on the original Howden Dam project. An ephemeral community even more remarkable because it was constructed with Edwardian ideals and resources. When I was a little boy, I often nervously imagined what might happen if somebody pulled out the plug while I was still in the bathtub. I have to admit that, this makes me rather nervous still. Birchinlee, popularly known as Tin Town because of its corrugated iron buildings, existed between 1902 and 1916. It was intended to be a model village for the construction workers who were there to build the Howden and Derwent Dams. Many of those workers had previously worked on the Elan Valley Dam in Wales, where the provided accommodations and facilities were much more rudimentary and often managed more along the lines of a work camp than a community. Happily, the Derwent Water Authorities sincerely strove to make Birchinlee a happier, more human place to live. The housing accommodation was divided into homes for single men and homes for families. Birchinlee had two hospitals, both relatively small but very adequately equipped. The building you can see to the left, standing by itself, is the isolation hospital, constructed at a distance from the community in case of contagion. The streets and houses were laid out neatly, on grids that matched the sewerage and waste systems beneath them. In some ways, this little town for workers had better amenities than the other longer established villages in the area. Birchinlee had a public bathhouse. It had a recreational hall, which provided interesting talks, social events, and even continuing adult education. The chiefs of the Elan Valley project were presumably good Welsh chapel-going folk, and they preferred temperance, so they didn't allow the workers in their accommodations to have a pub. However, Birchinlee did have a pub, but for reasons of apparent propriety, it was called the Derwent Canteen. Birchinlee also had its own Boy Scout troop. I tried to use an AI program to clarify this photograph, but I think it got quite confused because one or two of the faces appear to have been stuck on after the event. Birchinlee had a tiny police station, or possibly it was more akin to a police house. A building that provided accommodation for a constable and a cell for miscreants. Tin Town was a fascinating, almost experimental microcosm of British rural life in Edwardian and pre-Great War times. There were shops and visiting traders who sold fresh produce, eggs and poultry from their wagons. While the men worked, the women busied themselves in many ways. They were able to socialise, go shopping, but they were also making meals, doing the laundry, cleaning the houses, and physically carrying food to the workers where the job was being done. For the children, there was a modern schoolhouse. Birchinlee also had a church and a Sunday school too. The Howden Dam was finished and opened in 1912. The Derwent Dam took a little longer to become complete and operational. The Derwent Dam wasn't open and fully operational until 1916, even though most of the construction work was finished by December 1914. As the work wound down, the residents of Birchinlee began to move out. The last family left the community in February 1915. As the workers left, Birchinlee was gradually dismantled. By 1916, the little town had ceased to exist. In 2025, the nearest you can get to magically reliving a day in the vanished town of Birchinlee will be to rent this barn, an Airbnb these days, which is very close to the dam itself.